The easiest thing for the Chinese is to give up Jimmy, and that's for two reasons. Give up Jimmy and some of the other older dissidents. And the reason why is because you're not asking for anything internally from them. It is one of the problems we have with religious freedom, and it drives me crazy. I feel really bad about it. Is that when we ask for certain things, whether it's the Uyghurs or the Christians or even the Catholics, and I've been involved in this for a long time with the Catholics, and I know this firsthand, actually from speaking with members of the Patriotic Church. The problem is that you're asking them for a domestic policy change on religion. And that's a pretty big deal for them, especially for the commies. They don't go for that. So that's a hard one. That's a really hard one. So when you look at the easy one, well, the easier one is a guy in his 79th year of life, who basically did not really have much of a case proved against him. And also, they know Jimmy. That's the one thing that always drives me crazy. The commies have known us for years and years and years. There was not one single surprise that came out of that trial on Jimmy Lai where the Chinese like, oh, wow, that's it. None. And so I think Jimmy's a layup for him. But I also think the simple fact of the matter is, and he's the most well-known political dissident in the world today. He is. He's it. He's the big enchilada when it comes to like political dissidents. And I do think that at this point in time, that's an easy layup for the Chinese. And I think they should consider it. I don't understand the downside for them on that, and I know him personally, Jimmy and I, he's my boss. And I know he wants to get out, and I know he'll just basically go. It's going to take the guy. He's 78 years old, and he's been in a solitary confinement for 5 years. He's not going to come out and do a book tour. This guy is going into care. And I'm worried about his health. I mean, I'm very worried about it. He's going to come out. This is the type of thing. People come out of prisons like this, and it's like, they can't eat an apple pie because it's too sweet.
Well, you know him much better than I, obviously. I have met him, of course, thanks to you. But it seems to me, you mentioned the Patriotic Church, which is sort of what the official Catholic Church has to be in China. And, of course, the Vatican is completely useless. They were, post John Paul II. So you had Cardinal Zen, who it's not like he was off hurling rocks at anyone, but just peacefully being present in support of those seeking, their rights and for China to do what it agreed to do in the handover in the Basic Law and the Sino-British Declaration that handed Hong Kong back to China, et cetera, et cetera. Vatican, no help with him and no help with Jimmy. But Jimmy does sort of approach this from the point of view of a Christian sacrifice, right? He didn't want to be the rich guy who was like, okay, you kids go out and protest and go to jail. I'm going to hop on my yacht and go to, Taiwan or wherever. But having undergone his sacrifice and dealt with the consequences that he helped set in motion. He always was, a nonviolent guy, unlike some of the other hotheads. But, having gotten through that process or that situation, I don't know quite how to describe it, he will view his mission as complete and doesn't need to go on a victory tour through Whitehall or Congress to, not Whitehall, Westminster or Congress, to rub the Chinese face in it if they let him out.
Yeah, he's not going to do this. First of all, it's not his nature. Secondly, early on, I could tell Jimmy's concern was like what this is doing to Hong Kong. He loves Hong Kong, but no, it's not in his nature to do that. He's not going to be able to do it. I think physically there's going to be a lot of demands on him from his doctors and things like that, just to take it easy. And we've seen this with almost everybody who's come out of these long periods, that basically it takes a long time to recover. I was talking to Sharansky, Anton Sharansky about this, and he told me, he said, he would find himself a year and a half later with this or that, and he said he was a relatively young man compared to Jimmy when he got out. And he said, you feel invigorated, but he said by the same token, that it takes a toll on your body that's quite significant. And I do think that this is what's going to have to take him. I mean, I wouldn't say he's going to go convalesce, but I think it's going to be close. And I think he'll be out of the limelight. And certainly, why would he go out and cause trouble for others who might have it? Because the Chinese will use that as a mark. Okay, well, he behaved himself. He got out. And, 2 years later, he had to sit down with somebody and talked, but I doubt that even much, to be honest with you. I think the thing is that at this point in time, my belief with Mr. Lai, with my boss, Jimmy, is that he wants to get out and be with his family.